Hello, my girls. Happy Thursday. Here we are. It's the last day of the month. How's everyone feeling? How did September treat you? How did scale-free September treat you? Are you feeling amazing because you have no idea what that piece of machinery has to say about how you're feeling today? Are you feeling good because you crushed our summer squat challenge? This should be the month that you're on fire because you have nothing holding you back and everything pushing you forward. So now the question becomes, all right, so scale-free September is over, Gina. Now what do we do? Do we pull it out? Do I even know where I put it? That's the better question. I hope you forgot. Or if you locked it up, that you forgot the code to unlock it or you lost your keys. Because just because scale-free September is over does not mean that you have to step on the scale. If you feel amazing right now, and we can come up with a couple variables of why that may be, why would you step on the scale? If stepping on the scale has affected your mood in any way, shape, or form, and you're realizing, maybe you didn't even realize till we're having this conversation again, I just feel good this month. Like I feel like I wake up every day and things are good, things are flowing. Well, I'm reminding you that a huge part of that, aside from what we're already doing here and staying in motion and doing, is that you're not stuck on numbers. You're not stuck on the scale. The scale is not defining you. The scale is not sucking you dry of your energy. So that's just your reminder that if you feel good right now, don't do it. Okay, if you're afraid of not doing it, then let's just say this. How about let's not do it for another week. And then next week I'm going to say, what about another week? And then the following week I'm like, okay, what about another week? And before you know it, I'll be like, okay, what about like just till the end of the year? Then maybe we'll step on it before we start our New Year's challenge. But maybe we just get through the end of the year. Doesn't that feel so freeing? Like, I just got like a whiff of freedom right there. Just knowing that we are going to do away with something that's controlling us. Because remember, when something controls us, it's time for us to say bye-bye. It's time for us to say, no, we're in control and I'm taking back authority over my life and my mood. And we can do that with simply just removing the scale. It's really that easy peasy. I know it's hard, but guess what, girls? It's worth it. If it wasn't hard, I'd be worried. Okay? Because you want to, like, I get it. You want to track your progress, but you're tracking it in all the wrong reasons. I want you to track your progress by knowing how, if you stuck to our plan, how did you show up for yourselves today? Use a little checkbox. Check. After every workout, you can say done. And then at the end of the month, you can see all those check marks, even on an unplugged day, done. If you're doing that, that is a marker of your success. If you're still fitting in your clothes, that is a marker of your success. Or better yet, if your clothes are fitting even better, that's a marker. So just a little nudge that if you're wondering if we're going to like suddenly bring out the scale because September is over, I'm not, especially not this week, let me tell you. And if you are, I'm going to give you a couple rules. Number one, if it's one of those days, one of those months, if it's that time of the month where ant flow is like here hard, I want you to say, yeah, no. I don't want you to step on the scale if you're just not feeling good, like physically feeling good. I want you to step on the scale when you're feeling great, okay? That's number one. That's like, if you're not feeling good, why would you even do that to yourself? That's number one. Number two, I highly recommend you do it first thing in the morning after you've gone, number one and number two. And number three, I highly recommend that before you step on the scale, you load up your dinner with a ton of asparagus and maybe drink a little bit of Dandy Blend, okay? So I'm just helping you to prepare for the scale victory that's about to happen when you realize that, oh my gosh, I actually lost weight or I didn't gain weight and I had the best month ever. Okay, so you have two choices. Are you going to do it or are you not? I'm promoting that you don't. It's up to you. I want to hear what are your thoughts on that? Leave it in the chat below. In the meantime, I just want to say hi to all my girls. Hi, Stacy, Beth, Kelly, Marie. I know, right? Are we already finished with scale-free September? Seriously, where did that month go? I have no idea. I'm ready for fall, though. I am. It happens every year. I'm ready for the shift. It's happening. I had my orange sweater ready to go today, and I was like, okay, I am gonna wait a little bit. It's still sunny out, so I'm not ready for sweater weather material. However, I am ready for everything pumpkin, and I've got another good one for us today. But before we get started, how about that mantra? How about our mantra this week? How about amor fati, my friends? How about it? I love that a lot of it was a lot of your favorite mantras that got starred. Christy, I know, starred it, loved it, said watch it, listen to it right now, stop what you're doing. And if you haven't, after this live, stop what you're doing and listen to it, because it is a life-changing way of thinking. It's a life-changing mantra. It is how I live my life. And I had no idea that there was actually this Latin term, this Stoic philosophy that kind of went hand in hand. And once I realized that, I was like, oh, this is me. This is my conversation. So much that I got it tattooed on my foot. Yeah. Why my foot? I don't know. It just kind of felt right, but it's there. Yeah, I believe in it so much. It is life-changing if you can start to see things in a different light. I mean, we all talk about how do you see this glass, right? Well, right now it's full, but okay, we're getting closer. Okay, we're there. A little more. Are we half full or are we half empty? Because it really is all your perspective and how you choose to see things, right? But this takes it to a whole nother level. And this talks about your fate, things that have happened to you in your life that a lot of people are still stuck. I'm like, why did that breakup happen? I don't understand it. Like, and you get so stuck on these things that are causing all this internal resistance. That's a whole nother conversation. But we just get so mad. We get so fixated on these things. But if we start to see that, hey, maybe that wasn't meant for me. Maybe that relationship taught me a bunch of things that now I can invest into my new relationship. Maybe that one wasn't actually meant for me. And actually, years later, you see where that person ended and you're like, oh my gosh, imagine if I would have stuck in that relationship. No, everything happens for a reason. Even if you drop something on the ground, right? Glass shatters. You know those moments where you have like your favorite glass of wine and you're drinking it, and then all of a sudden like you accidentally drop your glass and it shatters everywhere, and you have that moment of like, rah! And then you're like, no, you know what? Now I'm just gonna have the cleanest floors ever. Like, it's how you turn things around. But even on bigger scales, when tragedy happens in your life, and I know it's so hard to see, how is this teaching me? How is this making me better? Why, you start to, why did this happen to me? Why? But if you can start to see that things happen for you, they're not happening to you. We tend to want to blame, but if you can start to see things in that light, it really just makes every day the best day ever for real, because whatever happens, you're like, it was meant to be. I didn't get to go on that vacation because of X, Y, and Z, but guess what? It wasn't meant to be. And then you realize when you're home from that vacation, all these other opportunities that landed on your lap, that if you would have gone on that vacation, they wouldn't have been there. So it's just all these different ways of seeing things. Highly encourage you, give that one a go. And just as hard as it is, start to find the beauty in that tragedy. Start to find that beauty. And before you know it, the healing process starts to magnify, because a lot of the healing is not happening because you're not accepting it, and not only accepting it, but just loving that happened. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. There's a lot of resistance that comes with that. How am I supposed to accept this death that happened in my life? But if you can start to see things in a different light and start to let go of that hold on that you have so tightly wound, so much comes from that. So much growth, so much freedom, so much just like, you just feel lighter in your skin. So please give that one a go. It's a good one. It's my all-time fave. And it's actually in there twice. So maybe you want to listen to this week's, and then if you search it, you'll see another one. I said it in a different way because I was in a different time in my life, whatever it may be. So maybe you just piggyback on those. Game changer, for sure. I'm torn. Kathy's torn about the scale. Okay, well, we're going to have this ongoing back and forth. Yes, Krista, stop everything you're doing after this live and listen to it, please. Oh, good, Amy, you made it. Hi, Regina, welcome to our tribe. Welcome, welcome. Welcome home to your people, your fam. Your first live, I think. So welcome. Okay, so we have a lot of questions. I love it. Sometimes when we don't have the questions, I'm like, really, girls? You guys are good. I'm going to go over here because you girls are good. But in the same time, I'm like, really? Okay, what am I going to talk about? I always have stuff to talk about, but you girls give me more to talk about. So I appreciate all the questions, anything that comes up. I know throughout the week, there's got to be stuff that comes up, right? And so land it right here on our Q&A. We've got quite a few good ones. Actually, I looked at it and it was like 44 comments. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have 44 questions. And then I realized there was some back and forth in there. Okay, so we have some good ones. So let me just dig right in. And then we have our delicious pumpkin recipe. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything before we get started. Scale-free September is almost over. Check out the mantra. Check. October workouts will be posted later today. Nothing but a booty band. So guess what? if you're not going to step on that scale, you can take those dumbbells and you can remove them from your gym and free up some space. All you need is a booty band. If you're going on vacation, taking a weekend trip, you're perfect. Just put that booty band in your bag and you'll be good. And then, yeah, let's dig into these questions. Okay, here we are. Christine Bueller, I don't know. I think, yeah, she's here, right? She's trying to figure out if she's going to put away her scale. I know she's here. Okay, Christine says, some days I'm just not hungry. Okay, to skip a snack, is it okay to skip a snack meal or just eat a little bit, not the whole amount? The first question that I have, I always wonder, I don't get how people are not always hungry. That is my first question. No, but for real, my first question would be, Christine, are you following our meal plan? Because if you're following the plan, I would imagine that you're going to be hungry. However, there are days where you're not ravenous, right? There are days where you're just like, you're good. Like you're just kind of coasting, but you're not looking at your watch like I know sometimes, waiting for that next meal. Couple questions come up. A, are you following the meal plan, number one? Number two, are you finding that there's a pattern between maybe on the fat days that you're not feeling as hungry? Because that's very normal because fat's a little bit more satiating. Those carbs tend to kind of put fuel in that fire and speed you up. So that might be an observation for you to note. Maybe on the fat days, you're feeling a little bit more satiated, and that's fine. That's a great thing. If you are eating on the plan, you're like, yep, Gina, doing that, and not sure about fats or carbs, just kind of take note so that you can start to learn your body. However, there's so many different variables, okay? Of course, we've got hormones. I know when hormones are through the roof, the cravings are strong, the hunger is up. And then when things are kind of flowing and balanced, you might just kind of feel good. And that's a good thing. Missing a meal here and there is not going to make or break you. However, at the end of the day, there's a couple reasons why I would rather you not. Number one, we just want to keep the fuel going, right? We want to keep the metabolism going. And before you know it, one missed meal turns into two, turns into three. However, those meals don't need to be gigantic. They can be tiny little meals. They can just be like, okay, I'm just going to have my protein. I'm just going to have my shake. I'm just going to have my 4 ounces of meat. I'm just going to have my eggs. So on those meals, maybe when you're not super hungry, you have a lighter protein, like a shake or like some egg whites that might sit a little bit lighter than chicken. Even fish tends to sit a little bit lighter. So maybe you just choose what type of protein you're having, and you don't have to have everything that goes with it. You don't need to have all the free veggies, right? So maybe you just have your lean protein, and if there's a carb or a fat in that meal, or if it's just a lean protein, that would be my number one suggestion. Number two would be, or the other reason that's really important is that if you miss that meal, the chances of you being hangry at your next meal are a little bit higher. I would say a lot higher if you're me. And so when you get to that meal and you're hangry, that is the time when you can quickly deviate. So just kind of keeping things steady, keeping that blood sugar steady, and kind of just being consistent with those meals will help you to keep things fired up, but also to help you to avoid that hanger pains, okay? But yeah, I'd be curious to know, are you noticing that it's happening on certain days, like on the fat days, and just kind of check that observation. Okay, good question there. And everyone's different. It's funny because as I saw this question come up, I got an email from a client that's like, I am so hungry this week. I woke up in the middle of the night starving. Should I add in more foods? So it was kind of interesting how everyone's completely different. But I will say, because I know the person that emailed me, she is dialed and doing everything that I have laid out. She's crushing the cardio. She's crushing the workout. She's crushing eating for purpose. So her consistency allows for that hunger. So that comes back to my initial question, Christine. How consistent are you being? Just kind of sit on that one. Okay, next question comes from Stacy. She's asking about sodium. I think she's here. So hi, Stacy. Any recommendations on the daily amount we should stay between? Okay, so she has a good question about salt. And the truth is, not all salt is to be treated the same. This comes back, there's a lot of conversation that's coming back to quality, right? Ionized salts, like the table salt, Morton salt that you used to see probably on your dinner table growing up, is not the same as getting good quality sea salt, good quality salts that are literally from the ocean, from the caves, whatever it may be. They're not ionized, they're not stripped away of all their nutrients. And the truth is that good salt is good for you. It actually helps things function. It keeps your heart healthy, it keeps your liver healthy, it keeps things flowing through you. So it's not about how much salt, it's more about the quality of salt. I've never been one to sit in salt. We never really had salt at my house growing up. It was always like, here's the pepper shaker. And then if somebody came over and asked for salt, my mom would come out and get like the big thing of salt because we never used salt. So naturally, I just didn't grow up with a lot of salt. We used a lot of salsa, less salt, a lot of salsa. My mom was a salsa lover. And so I just naturally didn't eat a lot of salt. And then when I got into the world of fitness and competing and like, got to cut back down on the salt, especially like leading up to a show, you got to restrict yourself. I became really like scared of salt. So everything was salt free, salt free. I was scared of mustard. Like that's how crazy it got. Yeah, me scared of mustard. And so when you restrict yourself of salt, then your body will have a huge reaction once you do have it. You will puff up, you will get like water retention. And so once I kind of like started using good quality salts again, I noticed that like I didn't wake up with water retention. I didn't wake up feeling bloated or puffy. And it was like so great because I remember having sushi on one night and being like, okay, this is good and I'm going to have it, but I just know tomorrow I better not have anything planned where I need to look sharp because I'm going to be puffer fish galore. And once I started to incorporate salt and good salts, you'll notice like your energy levels will shift and you won't hold on to as much salt. So to answer your question, I would be less worried about how much salt you're getting and more just focused on the quality of salt you're getting. I'm not saying to salt every single meal, but if you're using a seasoning that's a good quality seasoning with a little bit of good salt or some amazing truffle salt, something like that, I wouldn't worry so much. When you do come to like a soy sauce or a Bragg's, I would always try to get like the low sodium, just because why have excess? Because you are surprised there's actually salt in quite a bunch of the foods that we're eating, even natural salts in eggs and chickens and things like that. So more focused on quality, less on how much, on quantity, okay? And that really is like across the board. When you go to the store, naturally you're like, okay, what's the cheapest, right? Because I'm on a budget, I want to get the cheapest. But if you go for the high quality, you don't have all those other adverse effects. And also, a little bit goes a long way. So go for the quality. Really good question there. Okay, Julie, and also, if you're eliminating salt, you might find some cramping going on as well. So that can also help if you're experiencing any muscle cramping. Your body needs to have those salts to function and to stay balanced. Next question, Julia, I still have diastases recti from my last pregnancy and it's 8 years later and still haven't been able to totally reduce it. There's so much different information out there. Can you please give me some few exercises that would actually work? Okay, I think it's interesting because I too had diastases recti and mine wasn't really bad, but I would say it was definitely probably about 3 fingers and then it came down to 2. And I still probably have like if I don't have to go this way, I go this way, a little bit of a gap that comes up and down my center line. Because when you're pregnant, diastases recti is when you grow your baby and your abs split and then naturally they will start to come together, but sometimes it ends up being like this or like this. We're hoping that they do start to bridge together. Everyone's completely different, but I would say that I would imagine most women have a slight degree of diastases recti, but they just aren't aware of it because they don't have that mind-muscle connection or they're not at that level of body fat or body awareness to really see what's actually there, right? They just have these layers of fat. How would you know if your abs are split or if they're not? When you're lean enough, you can actually even see a little bit of a protrusion and even feel what's happening there. And so 8 years later, ideally, right after you have your baby is kind of when things kind of start to come together. You want to pay more attention to what you're doing, really focus on those exercises. So now fast forward to where you are, Julia, or to where I am 8 years post baby myself. We can still work on bridging that gap. Here's the thing. The exercises that you do for diastases recti are very minimal. Like we're talking tiny little movements. I have an awesome ab video. It's for the transverse abs. So we're talking the abs that are super deep underneath and within. That is what's going to help kind of bridge that gap. Check out that video. Just put in transverse abs. I can even put it in the comments below to help you. And that'll, if you want to just do that maybe 3 times a week, they're tiny little movements though. So when I'm doing the exercise, I even say, you probably can't even see what I'm doing, but it's a lot of squeezing. It's a lot of bringing that belly to your spine. It's a lot of that pelvic tilt and rotation. It's not your typical G-Fit, like let's crush it, let's get after it, sweat it out kind of core work. It's the tiny little movements. And so I would recommend you do that video 3 times a week. think it's 8 minutes, 3 times a week. Maybe add that to your nighttime routine. And consistency, imagine that, is going to be key for you. And then another great thing that thanks for the reminder, because I'm going to start doing this again. What I like to do is when I'm brushing my teeth, or you can come up with another little exercise, like when you're at a stoplight, or stop sign, or whatever it is, that you do those really deep core exercises. So if you have like a 90-second toothbrush, as you're brushing your teeth, you're literally just bringing the lower abs in, and it's like you want to bring the lower abs in and up. It's this really, tilting that pelvic. So it's like a really deep hold and then release. So just doing those, it's almost like Kegels for your abs kind of thing. Actually, it's very similar. You want to do that, maybe just do it 10 times while you're brushing your teeth, or every time you're at a stop sign, you do 5 of those holds, or, just being more mindful throughout the day to really hold in those lower abs versus getting lazy and letting your abs kind of fall out. So yeah, I would recommend that you do that video. Definitely improvements can get made. The truth is, I don't know if they'll ever bridge completely back together, and that's where surgery can come in. However, there's a lot of work that we can do to bring them back together as much as possible. Second question from Julia. Okay, girls, here it is. I knew it was coming. Second question is, so what about the ab challenge, Gina? We did it last year. What about this year? And so I saw this come up several times in the feed. And so I meditated on it, because here I am, like, do we want to add one more thing to our plate? And I sat and I trusted Amor Fati, if it's meant to be. And yes, I am approving. I see so much excitement, and I want to work with you, not against you. If you are excited about an ab challenge, 100 abs a day, especially with all this transverse conversation that we're having and that mind-muscle connection, let's do it, ladies. So I added that to the app already. You'll see 100 no more squats. 100 ab challenge. I love this challenge myself, because it really brings you back into that awareness of that core, builds that strength, because a weak core, you have so many problems, back problems, shoulder problems, whatever it may be. But with a strong core, it builds so much strength in all other areas, because it all stems from that core. So it's already in the app. You have the app, so it's free to app users. I'm also sending out an email. If somebody wants to just join the crunch challenge, the ab challenge, they're free to do that as well. They're able to do that as well. It's already in the app for us. So starting tomorrow, we'll do 100 crunches every day, a different variety. And I love these. There's so many different ones, the twisters, the TikToks. Yeah, really focusing on that core strength. So answer, girls, we're doing it starting tomorrow. 100 crunches a day added to our band workouts. Approved. Okay, and okay, Kathy, for the non-pumpkin lovers, about to turn you into a pumpkin girl. Suggestions on ways to incorporate apple, even if it's just the flavor. Okay, so yeah, when there's fruit on the menu, I don't think there's fruit this menu. Sorry. Note taken for next month. However, there's extracts out there, like vanilla extracts. You can get apple extracts, but the truth is, it's really, I find that those extracts tend to have a little bit of that kind of alcohol flavor taste, and it's like you can't replace an apple, just like you can't replace a peanut butter extract with peanut butter. I'm sorry, you just can't. So I would say just hold on tight for when there's fruit. However, if you really, really wanted to have your apple, I'm not going to sit there and say you can't have an apple. I would just swap out those carbs. So 100 grams, weighing it out, 100 grams would be a quarter cup of oats. So 1 serving, you can make that swap here and there. Just be mindful to not do it at every meal, maybe every day. But if you're craving a darn apple, just work it into that plan that way. Love you too. Okay. Pam says, I normally wear runners when working out, but was trying to do the exercises like you do, which is, I think she's saying barefoot, but do foot cramps when, okay, it looks like she has foot cramps when she's flexing her feet or toes. Any tips? Okay, that means that you need to work on that. That means that you need to work on strengthening your feet. And that's exactly what happens when you're wearing runners. When you're wearing those high cushion feet, you're not strengthening all of the bones and the tendons and all the things in your feet that need strengthening. So my suggestion would be keep working at it. You can do some simple, like, look, I'm having you girls do all these things that are, I know you don't want to do these tedious movements, but they really do help with strengthening. So maybe you need to do some strengthening movements with those toes, curl them in, curl them out. And I would suggest that you do a little bit more barefoot stuff. especially when it's not high impact jumping, when we're just doing our regular stuff, just grounding in those feet can help just to build that strength. Okay. Let's see, now we have a cheese question. I love cheese. Any way to incorporate in the meals, or some better than others, or just stay away? It depends on the cheese, okay? Like, we're gonna wanna stay away from the bries. We're gonna wanna stay away from all those really high fat cheeses. However, there are cheeses, again, good quality cheeses that could fit within that 9 gram or 5 gram fat swap. Like mozzarella is lower in fat. Swiss cheese is lower, tends to be about like 1.5 ounces or so to reach that that range. It's just not something that I would get in the habit of subbing. I don't want you to get too swapperoo on me, because before you know it, now you're having an apple, now you're having the cheese, now you're having all these things, and we start to kind of lose that real tight structure. And so if you want to have a piece of cheese here and there and swap out for a fat, have at it. I would just say, again, get a quality cheese, like a good mozzarella, like a good Swiss cheese, and be careful, because a lot of the cheeses that are lower in fat can have a lot of preservatives in them and a lot of additions that can cause to some issues. So if you don't have any issues with lactose, work it in the plan here and there, and just be mindful to not start adding stuff all over. Almond cheese is an approved cheese. It does have higher, it works perfectly on our fat days. Just something that I don't know if you can get it everywhere. I would stay away from some of the other cheeses that are just loaded. If you look at some of the cheeses that are like, yeah, I'm a fake cheese, they are loaded with preservatives and all kinds of things that potentially can cause a lot of gut issues. So stick with your real cheese or the almond cheese as a swap on a fat day, and just kind of see how your body responds to it. I personally love almond cheese. It shreds like regular cheese, and I think it's fantastic. All right, next question. Amy, I've been using the stevia in the raw packets forever, and they have dextrose as the first ingredient. Yeah, I'm glad that you noticed that, Amy. Do you have a brand that you suggest? I saw that Truvia was listed, Truvia, and then also Sweet Leaf. Those are the two that I know off the top of my head. I like the Truvia because it's more granular, so it's more like it's more sugar consistency, where the Sweet Leaf is more powdery, and I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit has a little bit of an aftertaste, some like bitter aftertaste. I also have this one that I just get from Sprouts. It's just like the liquid drops. And this one as well is just literally stevia leaf extract. So be careful that you are trying to find one that is just pure stevia. The dextrose, which is sugar, which is the first ingredient. It's like, I don't understand. I posted that a while back when I was at Costco getting some stevia, and that was, I think, must have been the same exact brand, Amy, that you found. So be mindful of that. And again, one packet is not going to make or break, but when you're having it in your coffee and you might throw it in a Dijon or something like that, it can start to add up. And if there's options that don't have it, look for those. All right, and last question. Christy says, any suggestions for soups on fat days? I seem to always have a craving for chili or soup, especially on those days and this time of the year, right? Yeah, Kathy had a good suggestion. If you're doing like a taco soup, you can add a fat in there, like an avocado. You can easily add an oil too. I tend to not like to add the oil to the soup because it kind of just gets dissipated in there. I'd rather like bite it. So having an avocado or throwing some pork rinds on the side, or like making a taco soup with the pork rinds, yum, instead of the tortilla chips. That's a good one. But the oils does kind of give a different mouthfeel. That would be my recommendation for those. Just have it on the side so that you can have some crunch to it, or the avocado or the pork rinds, or even the almonds on the side. Or the everything bagel. Dip it in the soup. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. I just came up with that right now, but that sounds amazing. Have your soup, have your everything bagel on the side, so you've got like your soup and sandwich. Perfect. Okay, I hope that helps. Okay, ladies, are you ready? I have a really good recipe for us today. It's kind of a takeoff of one that we already have in the app, plus last week's recipe. So if you weren't here last week, definitely check out those roasted pumpkin almonds. They're to die for. Super easy to make. I know some of you already made them and fell in love, so I'm excited to hear about that. And if you have any of those lying around, we're going to use those almonds for today's recipe. If you don't have any of those lying around, go make them. Or if you don't have time to make them, you can just use your regular almond butter for this one. Okay, we are going to make some pumpkin peanut butter cups, some cinnamon pumpkin peanut butter cups, because the almonds that we did were cinnamon, they were pumpkin, they were roasted, they were extra delicious. So what you're going to do, is you're going to take those almonds and you are going to place them in your food processor and you are going to create your own almond butter. Okay, so pumpkin almond butter is a thing, but usually it's loaded with sugar. So all you got to do is take those almonds from last week, super simple ingredients, throw them in your food processor, make yourself some almond butter. Just blend it up, puree it until it forms butter. Okay, nut butter. You don't need to add anything to it because the natural oils from the nuts are going to give the liquid that it needs. You don't need to add anything to it. However, because it's a pumpkin almond butter, I added 2 tablespoons. This is all in the app. 2 tablespoons of pure pumpkin to the mix, and I added 2 tablespoons of chia seeds and 2 tablespoons of flaxseed, okay? Because like Nutso, that nut butter that's got like the crunchy seeds in it. I've also shared one called like Fix and Fog, or I think it is. But basically, these nut butters have actual like crunch to it. So when you bite into something, it has like the crunchiness to it. And I personally love that crunch. So I added those nuts or those seeds into it. You can do 4 tablespoons, 1/4 cup of chia or flax, or I did the combo because I feel like the combo is really, really good. And it came out fantastic. Okay, so you have your nut butter. Here's mine right here. See how it's got the chia seeds in there and the flax seeds really adds for that crunch. And then when we make these peanut butter cups, that crunch really adds that flavor. And when you bite into, is it, oh gosh, what, I can't think. I know one of you knows what I'm talking about. That chocolate that has like those little bits of rice, that rice crunches in it. You know what I'm talking about. So that flavor and the crunchiness from this almond butter gives that same effect in these peanut butter cups. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start with a 1/4 cup of coconut oil. 1/4 cup of coconut oil, unrefined, good coconut oil, okay? So we got a 1/4 cup of coconut oil we're going to add right in here. Oh, it would help if I put the coconut in the microwave, right? Step 1. Make sure that the coconut oil is in the microwave before you turn it on, okay? Then once you know that it's in there and you double check it, 30 seconds, just melt it up. You want to make sure it's melted so that we can mix this all really well. So we've got a 1/4 cup of the coconut oil. Okay, these are winners for the entire family. My kids love these, and they're great because they sit in the freezer, so they last a little bit longer. So here we go. I've got my 1/4 cup of coconut oil. Okay, and then if your peanut butter is freshly made, you might not need to warm it, but I'm going to warm mine because I made a bunch, and it's been sitting in my refrigerator. So I've got a 1/4 cup of that freshly made, or if you don't have this made, again, you can use any almond butter or legendary nut butter that you have handy, okay? So a 1/4 cup of that, we're gonna place right in there. Then you wanna make sure that you get your pure pumpkin handy, okay? I hear there's no shortage this year, but who knows? Make sure you load up on pure pumpkin. Looks like this, okay? It's pure pumpkin. It's not the pumpkin pie. I always feel the need to like say that because before you know it, if you're using pumpkin pie and you're wondering why things taste so darn good, then you realize, oh yeah, because I was getting the pumpkin pie filling. Totally different. That one's loaded with sugar. That one's not Gina approved. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to do 2 tablespoons of pure pumpkin. We've got our coconut oil, and then we're going to add our nut butter. Okay, and then now we're going to add 2 scoops of protein. I'm doing the chocolate because I want these to be peanut butter cups, really, really chocolatey. So I'm using these pods. I love them because they just are so convenient. So I allow myself 1 a day, ladies. I'm off the real foods kick. So 1 a day. This portions it out for me perfectly. So there we go. Okay. And now I've got some baking cocoa. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of baking cocoa. And I just really wanted to get like a really chocolatey peanut butter cup, so that's why I'm adding the extra cocoa. Gives that rich flavor. And then we're going to add a little bit of sweetener of your choice. So I'm using this blend of it's sucralose with erythritol, or you can use monk fruit But again, this one has the same consistency as that Truvia that I was just talking about, kind of like an erythritol. So it's going to give it that real kind of like sugar consistency. Also adding for that good crunch mouthfeel. We're going to add that in there. And now I'm going to add some collagen. So you can use this collagen, the chocolate collagen, or you can use regular collagen. However, I do like to have this handy because it is a great craving crusher when you just need a little something chocolate. And so why not just intensify the already incredible rich chocolate of this recipe. 1 and 2. So we've got 2 scoops of that. And talk about salt. We're going to use a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt. And why do you ask? I just feel like salt brings out the flavor of everything, and it's just sweet and salty is a good thing. So there we go. I think I got it all. Dun, 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 dun. Yep, we got it all. And now we're simply just going to mix all of this up. It's really this easy, ladies. But I highly recommend that you prepare yourself some tea or throw in some whitening strips. Or if you have a night guard, go grab your night guard because these are so tempting. And I'll tell you, once you have a bite, it's really hard to resist a second or a third or a fourth. I was trying to give my kids and my husband some of these this morning, and then they had some, but of course left some crumbs, and I'm like, really, why'd you do that? Please eat it. These are really good, I'm telling you. But the one thing with this recipe, this is why it's so great for kids that want something sweet, that are playing sports, that need good food, good calories. They're really calorie dense because you've got the coconut oil and then you've got the nut butters. So while they are excellent and completely gene approved and completely sugar free, they are very rich in calories, okay? They're very calorie dense. So here we go. And then get yourself a silicone muffin tray if you don't have one already, because they make life so much easier. You don't have to spray it. And then especially in these recipes, they pop right out. So you're going to evenly disperse our batter into our silicone tray. And to save on time, I already have these done, of course. Oh, that is what happened. Now I understand. I thought my kids did that last night. When I put the tray in the ice tray, it gets stuck. And so it comes out like this. And so last night I was blaming my kids. What did you do to my recipe? Anyways, I have more. Okay. So these I made just out of this muffin tray that I'm using right here. So if you just have this one, you can just make these basic ones that come out so delicious. You want to make sure that you let them sit out for a few minutes to soften, because right now they're bricks. So they come out just like this. You've seen these before. However, adding that extra touch of pumpkin and adding that extra touch of the roasted pumpkins from last week really gave these a great flavor and took them to the next level. Now, if you want to have some fun with this recipe and with all of your baking recipes this year and you have kids, get yourself a fun silicone muffin tray and make this recipe in some cute little pumpkins, and you've got yourself some pumpkin peanut butter cups. So there you go. You've got an amazing recipe, and then you've got a fun way to prepare them just by throwing them in a fun silicone tray, and your kids will love them. There's something, I guarantee, that the cups that I gave my kids this morning that were like, okay, they're good, Mom, but I'm like, don't need to finish it all. And if I give them this, they're going to be like all over it. So another great way to trick the kids to eating good stuff, make it fun for them. And yeah, these are winners. If I would have had it out of my ice tray, they would have all been perfect and not like some are weird. But hey, this one came out pretty good. Isn't this fantastic and fun? All right, ladies, so give this a try. This is already going down in the app. If you don't have the pumpkin almonds, get them made because they're fantastic for this recipe, but then they're also great to have as your 15 almonds, as your fat serving throughout the day on your fat days. They really are so good and really easy to make and really kind of crush that craving, especially when there's Halloween candy that's starting to circulate all around you. Okay, so finish the month strong, ladies. Remember, how we end is how we begin. Tomorrow we kick off our band workout and our 100 abs. Thank you, girls, for bringing that to my attention. I am on board. I'm super excited about it. And yeah, tomorrow I think we kick off with just regular crunches. As we're doing this, Julia, this one's for you. Really focus on that mind-muscle connection, everyone here. But this is your 31 days to really focus on cinching up those abs. And maybe you dial in that your own personal challenge of doing the 100 plus doing the transverse abdominis ab exercise that's in the app 3 times a week. And let's see if we can help kind of bridge together that transverse abdominis. Okay, ladies, have an amazing day, and we will connect real soon. See you tomorrow.